finding out I had an incurable autoimmune disorder, one that flares up unexpectedly, causing pain, numbness, and fatigue, was one of the hardest things to accept, especially when my career expects me to be at my physical best.
We are back live with 7-time Grand Slam champion, 4-time Olympic gold medalist Venus Williams, who joins us now for the hour. That's a clip from her beautiful new book. It's called Strive, 8 Steps to Find Your Awesome. You write very candidly about Sjogren syndrome. That was the diagnosis. Obviously, for anyone hearing this news would challenge us. You, though, are a physical athlete. This is not just who you are. This is what you do. And you wrote in the book, you have to embrace what you can't change and own it. How do you do that? How did you do that?
Oh my gosh, it was hard because I'm so used to just whatever I wanted, I just put in the work and I got there. So I got to this point where that didn't matter. And it was like a whole new world, right? And so I had to learn how to do things like, for example, overcome fear. That was a big one. And
what were you afraid of when you got the diagnosis?
Well, if you have no energy and you still have to play a match, I mean, it's not easy.
So you were afraid of losing,
of course,
your career?
Yeah, you're afraid of the unknown because you have no idea like what's going to happen when you walk on the court, and that's hard because you know as an athlete exactly the plan. So I had to just focus on what I could accomplish instead of what I couldn't. And a lot of days it was a daily thing of like trying to refocus back on what I could accomplish instead of focusing on all the things that I couldn't do anymore. And it was a daily, like I said, every day I had to do that.
You have that conversation in the book under appreciate things in life, and that is one of the mantras there. You say acknowledge what you can change and do something about it within reason, which stood out to me because we want to change things on a big scale, but you found a way to do it within reason. What were those steps like? For example, was it let me practice a little today or let me not practice? What are those things within reason when you're, in your case, with this autoimmune syndrome, it was unpredictable.
Right.
You didn't know when you'd have these moments of fatigue and the toll it would take.
No, and I would negotiate with myself. It's like, okay, if I can run 10 minutes today, this is huge for me, you know? And if another day I could run 20, or if another day it was 5, then it all adds up. As long as you're making an effort, those efforts add up. It's like a ladder. When you take a step, you keep going up. You don't take a step and stay down, but it's important to take the step. And so that also, it leads to appreciating what you can do that day, appreciating your activities. And, you know, being able to appreciate your diet, too. A diet was huge for me. I ended up changing to a diet that was more soothing for me.
What did you change? What were you
at?
at?
Well, I had to quit the sugar.
You had to quit sugar?
Yes. That's why I couldn't get the donut yesterday. You know, cut back on the fine wines. Oh. You know, I love a red wine. But red wine didn't love me.
Red wine didn't love me. So these enjoyable, so the discipline that comes with that, I love that you say you have to talk to yourself. So you give yourself like pep talks?
Absolutely. You have to be your biggest cheerleader. Yes, you have to. You have to, and you have to. It's important to push yourself and to recognize, you know, what you aren't accomplishing, but at the same time, you have to give yourself credit for what you are, because you have to push your own self forward. And as an adult, we're responsible for our own lives, the lives of others around us, our kids, our parents. We have lots of responsibilities, but you can't forget your responsibility to yourself.
I love that. I love it. Which brings me to our next Strive action, which is balance. And that's a word, I'll be honest with you, especially after I have Moses, who's your biggest fan. My son is, every time he sees Venus, he's in love. He just starts drooling. I'm like, yeah, get it together. I'm like, you're 5. Wait, you've got time. As a mom, you know, the first thing people would always ask me about is like, well, how do you balance it all? And I always reject that word because I don't know what balance is. Because there are days I come home and I feel like, yes, I did a show and now I'm about to cook dinner. And the other days I go in and I'm in the corner crying. I have a headache. I'm ready to take a Tylenol. I'm like, this is for the birds. How do I'm gonna go on an island and sell T-shirts. I'm like, this is not for, I mean, seriously, I'm like, how do I win or rig the lottery tonight? But you say your outlook on balance is unconventional. You write, I don't believe it's possible to live a balanced life because your life is always going to be unbalanced. I accept that my life will never be balanced, but I don't stress about that. Help me. Help me.
Yeah, I mean, for example, raising kids. That's the most important job you can do in the world, you know, to guide your kids in the right direction and give them the best life possible, make them good human beings that contribute to society, right? That's a lot.
That's a lot.
So even that takes you just way out of bounds, let alone having a job and maybe finding some time maybe to get your hair and nails done. So in any case, if you try to find balance every day, you may be disappointed.
Yeah.
But if you try to find a moment of balance, that I can guarantee you can do.
A moment of balance.
A moment of balance.
I love that. I love that. I love it. Because that's the thing. You're trying to find moments versus this whole unended, because I don't know what that means.
No.
I don't know what that means.
And you'll be waiting a long time to find that
You'll
balance.
be waiting and
Be
waiting.
like, next month, and it doesn't come. And also, when you're trying to set your life up for balance, sometimes that takes time to like put your ducks in order, whether that's sometimes changing your job or whatever it might be. It takes time. So until you can get there, you got to find moments to make sure that you stay sane.
You do this in the book so beautifully. You talk about balancing plates, and we've heard this analogy, but you talk about, you ask yourself this, do I have to spin the plate alone? Could I delegate this plate to someone else? Do I really need to keep this plate spinning, or will it probably spin all by itself? I love that, because it is hard for people to delegate. It is hard to give up that control, but you burn yourself out. And I talk about being a parent, but I was a non-mom for 48 years of my life. And I was trying to spend my life and take care of myself and all this. So it doesn't necessarily focus on rearing of a child. It's life in general. In general. How do you delegate the plates?
Yeah, I think that was hard, right, in the beginning for me.
Because you have to trust people.
Yeah, you trust, you want to control everything, you want everything to be done well. And it's really about, the first part is focusing on what is the best use of your time.
How do you determine what's the best use of your time?
You start analyzing and observing yourself. So we go back to the first tenet. You have to observe yourself, which is sometimes the hardest thing to do. What are you good at? What are you not good at? What could you pass on? What could you eliminate that you just don't need?
Yeah.
And sometimes that can be things. Sometimes that can be people's. You know.
She said, come on, Venus. That's what, come on, Venus. Well, and that's tough. I mean, you are, and I've said this since the moment we met and we did another event at the Synod, you are so incredibly kind. And your energy is, this is the real deal. This is the real deal. And I would imagine with that, people want a piece of you constantly. And having to say no or eliminate things. Is that challenging?
No.
Oh. I didn't expect that.
No is a superpower.
No is a superpower.
No, and for me, when I give my word, I mean it. So if I've said I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And if I said I can't, I actually can't. So I know my limits, and I know what I want, and I know what makes sense in my life.
I love that.
So once you learn the power of no, you are on fire.